You ever sit in silence and realize no one's coming to save you? That's the moment you wake up. That's the moment life stops being a game. Look around. How many of those people you call friends really show up when you're down bad? Or how many would sacrifice sleep for you like you do for them? None. Because the truth is, no one truly cares about your pain the way you do. It's in that lonely grind, those silent nights when the world forgets you exist, that you build the version of yourself that no one can break. You want comfort? Keep chasing people. You want power? Learn to stand alone. That's when the fire gets lit. When your phone's dry, your DMs are empty, and your back's against the wall, that is when you rise. Stop crying over who left. Stop begging for love from people who don't love themselves. Alone is where kings and queens are forged. When there's no one to rely on, your only option is to become something unstoppable. You don't need them. You never did. You just forgot how powerful solitude can be. Solitude reveals your real strength in ways that crowds never will. In a world constantly buzzing with noise, validation, opinions, and distractions, very few people ever get the chance or have the courage to face the silence that comes with being truly alone. But it is in that silence, in that stillness, in the absence of applause, where your raw, unfiltered power begins to surface. Because when there's no one to lean on, no one clapping for you, no one texting to check in, you have two choices: break or build. And that choice is where the transformation begins. You see, most people run from solitude because they're afraid of what they'll find. They're afraid of their own thoughts, afraid of confronting the truth about who they are, and more importantly, who they're not. They fill their time with people, parties, noise, nonsense, because it numbs the sting of their own emptiness. But the brave ones, the strong ones, the ones who eventually conquer their world, they step into solitude willingly. They embrace the discomfort because they understand something the masses never will. Pressure builds diamonds, and pressure lives in silence. When you're alone, you're stripped of the masks you wear in public. There's no performance. There's no pretending. You're forced to look in the mirror and ask yourself the hardest questions. Who am I when no one's watching? What do I actually believe in? Am I proud of who I'm becoming? There's no one around to distract you from those answers. No one to tell you you're enough when you know deep down you're not living at your full potential. And that's where strength is forged, not in the gym, not in the applause, but in those brutal, honest, private moments where you decide to demand more from yourself. Solitude doesn't just test your strength, it reveals it. Because let's be real, anyone can feel motivated when they're surrounded by support, when everyone's cheering them on. But try waking up every morning with nothing but your own willpower. Try pushing forward when no one believes in you. That's strength. Real strength is getting up when you have every reason to stay down. Real strength is building something from nothing, without help, without validation, without recognition. Think about the lion. He walks alone. He doesn't need the jungle to tell him he's the king. He knows. He carries that truth in his bones. You should too. If you're truly strong, you don't need to show it off. You don't need the world to notice, because you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. To prove to yourself that you're capable, that you can survive, that you can build, thrive, endure, even when no one is watching. When you're in solitude, every weakness becomes clear. You can't hide behind social media likes or shallow friendships. If you procrastinate, it's on you. If you're undisciplined, it shows. There's no one to blame, no one to point fingers at. It's just you and your decisions. And that's the gift of solitude. It removes excuses. It reveals who you are without the world's influence. And that truth, however painful, gives you the blueprint to become unstoppable. Because you can't fix what you won't face. And you can't become powerful without facing your flaws first. Solitude teaches patience. When you're alone, you're forced to slow down, to wait, to sit with your emotions instead of running from them. You learn to trust the process, to fall in love with your own journey. It's not about instant gratification anymore. It's about long-term vision. And in that slow burn, your mind sharpens, your body hardens, your goals become clear, your purpose becomes louder. You stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. Every move you make has weight. Every decision has meaning. Because now you're not doing it to impress. You're doing it to evolve. And here's the thing. Once you've learned how to walk alone, no one can ever take that from you. That kind of strength is permanent. You become untouchable because you no longer need anyone to feel whole. That doesn't mean you won't love people. That doesn't mean you won't build relationships, but it means you're not afraid to lose them. You stop attaching your worth to others. You stop giving your power away because you know, no matter what happens, you've got yourself. You've seen your worst days and still chose to rise. You've been in the trenches, in the darkness, and came out with your head held high. That's a kind of strength most people will never understand. People will try to make you feel like being alone is weakness. That needing space is failure. That independence is loneliness. But don't fall for it. Most of them haven't spent a single day with their own soul. Most of them are running from themselves, hiding in crowds, terrified of being forgotten. But you are becoming the kind of person who doesn't need the world's noise to feel valuable. You're learning how to love your own company. You're mastering your mind. You're shaping your future in silence. So the next time you feel like you're missing out, remember, the party doesn't build you. The attention doesn't grow you. The crowd doesn't define you. Solitude is your proving ground, your weapon, your sanctuary. And when you come out the other side of it, stronger, wiser, more focused, you'll understand why all those nights alone were never a curse. They were preparation. Preparation for a life where you no longer follow, you lead, where you don't beg, you build, where you stop surviving and start conquering. Because the truth is simple. In solitude, you don't just find strength, you become it. Betrayal is a brutal teacher, one of the harshest lessons life can hand you. It cuts deeper than any physical wound because it comes from the one place you least expect it, from those you trusted, from those you called close, from those you thought had your back no matter what. But here's the truth. No one likes to admit betrayal is necessary. It's painful, yes, but it's the only way you truly learn who belongs in your life and who's just passing through like a shadow. When the mask of loyalty falls off, what's left isn't just heartbreak, it's clarity. And that clarity is priceless. It shows you who is real, who's worth your time, and who's nothing but a distraction on your path to greatness. You see, betrayal isn't just an act of disloyalty, it's a filter. A ruthless filter that separates the genuine from the fake, the supporters from the haters, the true allies from the fair weather friends. Because when you're winning, when life is good, everyone wants a piece of you. But real loyalty, the kind that stands tall when the storm hits, is rare. Betrayal exposes the ones who only stuck around for the shine and vanished when the spotlight dimmed. And that exposure is a gift in disguise. It saves you from investing more time and energy in people who don't deserve it. It forces you to cut off the dead weight dragging you down. It teaches you to value yourself enough to walk away from anyone who betrays your trust. Betrayal also teaches a crucial lesson about boundaries. When someone betrays you, it's not just a break in trust, it's a breach of your personal space, your values, your sense of security. It's a loud, undeniable signal that some people are not meant to be close. And that's okay. Not everyone is your family, not everyone is your friend, and certainly not everyone deserves to be in your inner circle. The pain of betrayal pushes you to redefine your boundaries, to become more selective with who you allow in. It forces you to become a gatekeeper of your energy, your time, and your heart. You learn to recognize red flags earlier, to listen to your gut instead of ignoring it, and to demand respect instead of settling for crumbs. Another important thing betrayal reveals is your own strength and resilience. At first, the shock and hurt might feel like it's breaking you. But if you let it, betrayal becomes a source of power. It's a test of your character, your ability to rise from the ashes, to forgive, not for them, but for your own peace, and to move forward with a clearer vision. The ones who betray you don't get to define your story, you do. And by surviving betrayal, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than any pain, wiser than any deceit, and more capable than any setback. That resilience becomes a foundation on which you build your future relationships and your unshakable self-worth. Betrayal also sharpens your judgment. After you've been burned, you don't rush into trusting again. You become more discerning, more aware of people's true colors. You stop being naive or overly optimistic. You learn to look beyond the surface, to watch for subtle signs of dishonesty or selfishness. You pay attention to actions rather than words, because words can lie, but actions don't. This heightened awareness protects you from future betrayals and helps you cultivate a circle filled with people who genuinely care, who are loyal because they want to be, not because they have to be. At the end of the day, betrayal is a harsh but necessary chapter in your story. It forces you to clear out the fake people and make room for those who truly matter. It makes you tougher, smarter, and more self-aware. It teaches you that it's better to be alone than surrounded by traitors. It shows you that your time and trust are valuable commodities that shouldn't be handed out lightly. And most importantly, it reveals who really belongs in your life. The ones who stay through the storms, who respect your boundaries, who lift you up instead of tearing you down. When betrayal happens, don't let it break you. Let it build you into someone who no longer tolerates anything less than loyalty and truth. Because once you learn this lesson, you're unstoppable. Growth only happens in discomfort. Embrace it. This is a truth so powerful, yet so many people try to avoid it like the plague. We live in a culture obsessed with comfort, instant gratification, and easy wins. But the real progress, the kind that transforms you from ordinary to extraordinary, never comes from staying cozy in your safe zone. Growth demands discomfort. It demands pain. It demands struggle. Because growth is forged in the fire of adversity, not in the calm of ease. If you want to become better, stronger, smarter, and more resilient, you have to lean into discomfort, not run away from it. The human brain is wired to avoid pain and seek pleasure, which makes sense for survival. But the problem is, growth is not always pleasurable. Growth feels like failure before it becomes success. Growth feels like uncertainty before it becomes clarity. Growth feels like struggle before it becomes strength. When you're learning a new skill, mastering a craft, or breaking bad habits, you're going to feel awkward, uncomfortable, even defeated at times. That's not a sign to quit. That's the sign that you're on the right track. Discomfort is the language of growth. It's the signal that your body, mind, and soul are adapting and evolving. Think about athletes, entrepreneurs, or anyone who's reached a high level of success. They don't get there by taking the easy route. They get there by pushing their limits, by waking up early when they want to sleep, by grinding through failure, rejection, and doubt. Every calloused hand, every broken record, every sleepless night is a testament to their willingness to sit in discomfort and keep moving forward. You can't grow muscles without tearing them first. You can't build mental toughness without facing challenges that test your resolve. You can't develop emotional resilience without walking through storms that shake your foundation. Discomfort is the fuel, the raw material that transforms you into something stronger. When you embrace discomfort, you start seeing it not as a threat, but as an opportunity. The moments when you want to quit, when you feel weak or scared, those are the moments where the most growth happens. If you push through them, you prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. You expand your limits. You rewrite your story. You build habits that no longer let you settle for mediocrity. This mindset is what separates winners from losers. Winners don't seek comfort. They seek challenge. They understand that every time they stretch beyond their comfort zone, they become more powerful, more confident, more unstoppable. Discomfort also teaches humility and patience. Growth isn't an overnight process. It's a slow, sometimes painful journey. You learn to accept that failure is not the end, but a stepping stone. You learn to trust the process even when you can't see immediate results. You learn that progress is often invisible to everyone else, but that doesn't make it any less real. The discomfort of uncertainty, doubt, and struggle is temporary, but the growth you achieve lasts a lifetime. Those who rush through or avoid discomfort will never reach their full potential. They'll settle for less because they never built the foundation to handle more. Moreover, discomfort reshapes your mindset. It breaks the cycle of entitlement and complacency. When you're uncomfortable, you can't rely on excuses. You can't blame others or circumstances. You have to confront yourself, your fears, your weaknesses, your limitations, and decide if you're going to let them control you or if you're going to control them. This internal battle is where growth lives. It's raw, it's real, and it's necessary. Every uncomfortable moment you face is a choice point. Do you retreat or do you advance? Growth happens only when you choose to advance despite the discomfort. Finally, embracing discomfort leads to true freedom. When you get comfortable being uncomfortable, you stop fearing change. You stop clinging to what's familiar and safe, and you open yourself to endless possibilities. You become unstoppable because you no longer rely on external circumstances to feel safe or successful. You build an unshakable foundation from within, one that can weather any storm. That's the power of growth born from discomfort. It liberates you from limitations and sets you on a path to extraordinary achievement. So next time you face discomfort, don't shy away. Don't complain or wish it away. Lean into it. Welcome it. Because that's where your future self is waiting. The version of you that's stronger, smarter, and more capable. Growth only happens in discomfort. Embrace it and watch yourself transform. Validation from others is weakness. Validate yourself. This is a truth that cuts deep because it challenges one of the most basic human desires, to be accepted, appreciated, and recognized by others. From a young age, society teaches us to seek approval, to look for praise, and to measure our worth through the eyes of others. But here's the brutal reality. Relying on external validation is a form of weakness because it hands over your power to someone else. When your confidence depends on likes, compliments, or recognition from others, you're vulnerable to their opinions, their moods, and their biases. True strength, real, unshakable confidence comes from within. It comes from learning to validate yourself and no longer needing permission from anyone else to feel worthy. Validation from others is weakness because it's unstable and unpredictable. People's opinions change like the wind. One day you're praised, the next day ignored or criticized. If your self-worth depends on that external feedback, you're on a roller coaster that you don't control. You wake up every day wondering, did they like me? Did I impress them? Am I enough? That mindset drains your energy, your focus, and your peace of mind. You become a prisoner of other people's perceptions instead of the master of your own identity. When you depend on external validation, you're constantly adjusting who you are to fit into someone else's expectations, losing your authenticity in the process. But when you validate yourself, everything changes. You become your own authority on your value. You learn to recognize your strengths without needing a crowd to cheer for you. You develop a deep inner confidence that no criticism can shake and no praise can inflate artificially. This self-validation builds resilience. It frees you from the anxiety of what will they think and replaces it with a quiet, unshakable certainty. I know who I am and I'm enough. That's power. That's independence. That's the foundation of true success. Self-validation doesn't mean arrogance or ignoring constructive feedback. It means having a baseline of self-worth that doesn't depend on others. It means listening to your own voice first and foremost and trusting your own judgment. When you can validate yourself, you become open to growth because you're no longer defensive or desperate to prove yourself. You accept criticism when it's helpful and you reject it when it's toxic. You set your own standards and refuse to let anyone else lower or manipulate them. That's how leaders think. That's how champions operate. Moreover, self-validation creates authenticity. When you stop chasing approval, you stop pretending. You no longer wear masks or play roles to fit in or impress. You show up as your true self, unapologetically. And here's the paradox. When you are authentic, people respect you more because confidence and honesty are magnetic. You attract relationships and opportunities based on who you truly are, not a curated version designed to win approval. That's sustainable success. That's real influence. That's lasting happiness. Relying on validation from others also puts your mental health at risk. The constant need for approval can lead to anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. It makes you vulnerable to manipulation and toxic relationships because you fear rejection so much you tolerate disrespect. But when you validate yourself, you build boundaries naturally. You know what you deserve. You don't settle for less because you aren't desperate for acceptance. You learn to say no without guilt and to walk away from people or situations that don't honor your worth. That kind of mental and emotional strength protects you in every area of life. Learning to validate yourself takes practice, but it's one of the most empowering journeys you can take. It starts with self-awareness, understanding your values, strengths, and limits. It continues with self-compassion, treating yourself with kindness even when you make mistakes. It grows with self-discipline, pushing yourself to improve, not because others demand it, but because you respect yourself enough to become better. And it solidifies with self-trust, believing in your decisions and standing firm in your identity, no matter the noise around you. Every time you catch yourself seeking approval or doubting your worth based on someone else's opinion, remind yourself you don't need their validation. You are your own standard. You are your own champion. And when you believe that, no external voice can break you or control you. That is freedom. That is strength. That is success. So stop looking outward for permission to be great. Stop measuring your value with someone else's ruler. Validate yourself. Own your power. Walk your path with confidence born from within, because validation from others is weakness. Validate yourself and become unstoppable. Being alone isn't punishment. It's preparation for greatness. This is a lesson many don't realize until they've been through the fire of solitude and emerge stronger on the other side. Society often paints being alone as something negative, something to avoid, something to fear. We've been conditioned to believe that loneliness equals failure, or that if you're alone, it means you've been rejected or left behind. But that's a lie. Being alone isn't a curse. It's the crucible where greatness is forged. It's the time and space you need to discover your true self, to sharpen your focus, and to build a foundation so solid that nothing can shake you. When you're alone, you have no distractions, no outside noise pulling you in different directions. You're left with yourself, and that can be uncomfortable at first. You face your fears, your doubts, your weaknesses head on without any escape. But it's in this intense confrontation with yourself that you start to grow. You start to understand what drives you, what holds you back, and what you truly want from life. This self-awareness is the first step toward greatness. You can't build a legacy without knowing who you are deep down and what you stand for. Being alone also teaches discipline and self-reliance. When you have no one else to lean on, you learn to depend on yourself. You become your own motivator, your own coach, your own source of strength. This independence is crucial for greatness because no matter how many people support you, there will come times when you have to stand alone. When you've already learned how to thrive in solitude, those moments become opportunities rather than obstacles. You develop mental toughness that allows you to keep moving forward even when the world turns its back on you. In solitude, you also have the chance to hone your skills without distraction. Greatness demands mastery, and mastery requires hours of focused, undisturbed practice. When you're alone, you control your time and your environment. You can create routines that maximize your growth and eliminate the noise that often comes with social interactions. This kind of focus and commitment is what separates the mediocre from the exceptional. You learn to push past excuses because you have no one else to blame. You build habits that support your vision and discard those that don't. Another powerful aspect of being alone is that it forces you to build a relationship with yourself. Greatness isn't just about external achievements, it's about inner fulfillment and peace. If you can't stand your own company, if you're constantly searching for external validation or distraction, you'll never be truly satisfied no matter how much success you accumulate. Solitude gives you the space to cultivate self-love, self-respect, and emotional intelligence. These qualities are the foundation of authentic leadership and influence. When you know how to manage your own mind and emotions, you can inspire and lead others from a place of strength rather than insecurity. Being alone also sharpens your vision. Without the noise of other people's opinions and expectations, You can clearly see your goals and priorities. You learn to trust your intuition and make decisions that align with your true purpose. This clarity is essential for greatness because it keeps you on track even when distractions or setbacks arise. You're not swayed by popular opinion or temporary trends. You move with intention and confidence because you've taken the time to understand what matters most to you. Most importantly, being alone prepares you for the inevitable moments in life when you will stand alone. Whether it's making a tough decision, facing criticism, or pushing through hardship, greatness requires solitude. When you've embraced being alone as preparation rather than punishment, you enter those moments ready. You don't fear isolation because you know it's part of the journey. You don't rely on others to define your worth or your path. You are the captain of your ship, steering through storms with unwavering resolve. The pain and discomfort that come with being alone are temporary, but the strength and wisdom you gain last a lifetime. Many people chase relationships, approval, or companionship to avoid the discomfort of solitude, but in doing so, they miss the greatest opportunity for growth. Greatness isn't given, it's earned in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It's built in the loneliness of early mornings and late nights, in the sacrifices made away from the spotlight. Being alone is the training ground where you develop the character, skills, and mindset needed to conquer the world. So if you find yourself alone, don't see it as punishment or failure. See it as a gift, a rare chance to prepare yourself for the greatness that's waiting for you. Use the time wisely. Dive deep